So I hope you enjoyed our little public television show. This is what we've been doing for all of these many years.
Well, it took you so long to ask us.
Yeah, really.
We've been waiting for that invitation.
I know. We saved the best, not for last, because we hope to stay around for a while now.
Absolutely.
This is our 47th year. So the irony is that we started doing our show 7 years before you guys even started your
before we
career.
started.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So speaking of milestones, so this is the 40th anniversary that you've been together. What does it mean to stay together and play together for 40 years? There's more to it than meets the eye.
Fisticuffs.
Well, you survived.
Nah.
We never really thought about it. You know, when we started, one of our favourite bands was the Sex Pistols, and they were together for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they all moved on to other things. And so the life expectancy of a band was not that long. Even the Beatles was less than 10 years. But we did have the Rolling Stones there carrying on. And we just wanted to do it for as long as we possibly could. And I guess something worked out.
Yeah, we've got a great belief in our chemistry together. I mean, we've all gone and done work we've all gone and done other things, and we just keep coming back to each other, and we believe in the music that we still have to make.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know.
I believe that.
And we feel that we can still create together, which I think is the most important thing. We could be out there just playing all the old songs, but we believe, as John said, that we can create new music and bring new music to the world, and that kind of keeps us fresh, keeps us going.
So it's not
It's
just
funny. I was going to say something, but
Yeah,
I don't mind
please.
if I don't say it.
Hey,
Okay.
go.
I was going to say that, you talk about this 40 years. What's it like, that 40 years? It's been really up and down. I mean, that's the thing. And I think that's the normal story for a band. The fact that there have been times when we've been really strong and really great, and there have been times when we're really low and just hanging on by a thread. But we did manage to hang on in those low times. The great thing about being in the band is when you get demoralised, or when I get demoralised, there's 3 other guys to pick me up, and then when one of those is demoralised, I'm one of the 3 that picks him up.
Yeah. So Future Past is your first new album in 6 years. And essentially it was created during the lockdown, during this very bizarre time we've been living through for the past, what is it now, almost 2 years. But the project changed from where it began to where it was actually completed, correct?
We actually got to a point at the beginning of last year when we thought we were going to be able to release the album, and then the lockdown hit and we had to leave it on ice for 9 months. And during that time, we actually didn't really try to work on it because it just wasn't possible. And we went back in 9 months later and thought, okay, what have we got? Let's open up the vault. And I think we were all pretty thrilled with what was there, but we were able to zero in on what wasn't there.
I've kind of got an analogy for it. Before the lockdown, making the album was a little bit like driving along at night with just your headlights on, full beam, no lights around you, and you could just see the road ahead of you, not a lot else. And it was quite hard. But and then we stopped the album, and it's almost as though during that time that we were away from it, the sun came up, because when we came back, we could see the whole landscape, and we could see exactly where this road was going.
I also was thinking that it was interesting. We actually came back after this 9 months that we were apart. Mike Garson, who'd been David Bowie's pianist for so many years, we'd met him and he'd come and played on the album before lockdown. And he approached us toward the end of the year and said, how do you feel about participating in this Bowie tribute? I'd like you to perform 5 years. And we were like, whoa,
It's a big
that's
song.
a sacred cow song.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of Bowie songs over the years. So we actually came back together to record that.
Yeah.
And I think we all approached it with, it was a fantastic thing to do, but we all brought our best game to it, and I think we had a really strong experience doing that,
it was,
and that kind of helped us. Then
we
go
also
back
had
to
I
the
think
album.
it was the first time that everything just seemed to fall into place, didn't it? With that,
Yeah.
And I think that seemed to happen with the rest of the album after we got back.
It's the first time in
Sorry,
sorry.
somebody said something.
I was going to say, it's the first time in 40
I'm just gonna be
years
quiet.
that we actually had the opportunity to take a break in the album that long.
Yeah.
And it did make things clearer.
Yeah, we would never choose to do that. Never. I mean,
Ladies and gentlemen, Roger Taylor.
I was going to say one of the great things as well, we didn't have any time constraints. Usually we've got a gig booked or a tour coming up or whatever, so it's a real luxury to just have a completely open book.
Well,
and
it
we could really
was.
take the time to finish the record properly.
But I don't know.
Eliminate those-
I thought that we felt that COVID, we could feel this move out of COVID. You know, you could see people were starting to talk about live shows, and I felt I wanted to be part of that. I wanted our album to be out at this time. I wanted to be able to get back on stage at that time. You know, personally.
So how did you go about choosing the special guests for this album? Graham Cox and others.
They kind of the special guests really. There was no period at which we went, okay, we need to choose some special guests. They just came at the right time and for the right songs. I mean, Graham was somebody who was there very much from the outset. You know, we'd only really been working for a couple of weeks before.
He was day one.
He's day one. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he was right there at the beginning, and Errol was the one who made that happen. They're very good mates. They live close to each other. Obviously, working with Giorgio Moroder was something that we've all kind of wanted to do for a long time, and Nick really made that happen. And then the other collaborations, kind of we on the song "More Joy," we had this chorus, "More Joy," and Nick said to me, he says, "I think we need some Asian girls on it, going more joy." I said, "I know exactly who to ask," because I've been listening to a lot of alternative modern music recently, and I got in touch with this band in Japan called Chai. They're an all-girl punk band, and we got in touch with them, and they came to Tokyo and in a studio in Tokyo. We had a remote link going, and we recorded them there. And then with Hammerhead, I'd had this idea that I was desperate for that song to make it on the album. And I think it was in danger of kind of fading away a little bit. Yeah, it's in danger of extinction.
Was at one point.
And I thought, God, I heard again. Some music I'd heard. I'd heard this style of London rap, where these girls rap in really London accents, you know. And I liked the sound of it. I thought that would be so off the wall for us and so different. That could be the voice of Hammerhead. And so we approached Ivorian Dawn, and she said yes. And Tove Lo was one of the. She came on a list, didn't she? There's a list of people who they thought we could try a collaboration with. I'm not sure if it's the management or the record company. And John and I went, oh, Tove Lo. We went to see her in at Lollapalooza in Sao Paulo. She's pretty good. So we sent a lot of songs to her. And she picked the song. She said, I think I can do something great with this song. And so she sang on Give It All Up, and it made all the difference.
It must be
I
difficult at
missed anybody?
times.
Mike Garson, we've done that one, haven't we?
Yeah.
It must be difficult at times to escape that bubble and to maybe even force yourself to listen to other music, to new music, as opposed to just focusing on what you're doing or listening to the same music you've been listening to for so many years. And most people are guilty of the same. They listen to what they grew up with in high school or in college or whatever.
Or whatever you're working on.
Yeah.
I mean, as musicians. Well, I mean,
I think as a band, we're really curious about music still. We all like new music. Of course, we like the things we grew up with and things from each decade. But there's something about hearing something fresh that you haven't heard before, and a young artist who's got a slightly different idea, that it will always be incredibly exciting.
Yeah, we're still music fans, really. And I think it's very important that we stay in the moment. You know, we've got so much history with our back catalogue. You know, it's an incredible catalogue of music, but we have to try and stay in the here and now and, you know, always have our feelers out for what's going on out there.
You're not
One
the
of the
t-
things I did in lockdown was start a radio show. It's on Sirius XM. It's called Whoosh. It's on Sirius XM Volume, Channel 106.
That's a plug.
It's not a plug.
Oh, okay.
But and it was because my daughter said to me, you exactly what you'd said about only listening to the music you're working on and the stuff that got you into band in the first place. And I went on this musical odyssey, and I've made huge discoveries. It's really, as far as my performance and work is concerned, it's really affected the way I've been recording since lockdown, and I've introduced you guys to
That's why we
a lot
call
of
you
that stuff as well.
Ulysses.
Ulysses, with the Voyager on the Odyssey.
Exactly. Space Odyssey.
Well, you've got a very strong legacy to be proud of course, and it must be a bit of a challenge to embrace the past without becoming too nostalgic about it
Yeah.
and living off of the past 40 years.
People often say to us, well, what's it like playing those old songs and you have to play them every night, some of them, whether it's Rio or Hungry Like the Wolf or something. Actually, we've all realised how proud we are of the catalogue, and that when you've got a song that you can play and you look at the audience and everybody's smiling and having a great time and dancing,
That's crying. I
or
saw
crying.
somebody out there crying tonight, actually.
Of course.
In,
That's
Sacred
something
Prayer.
special. And music, what we're all interested in with music for sure is how it affects people emotionally. Music marks your life.
Yeah.
All our albums are
Yeah.
our diaries for the last 4 decades. And other people's songs mean a lot to us for different things, different people that you remember and times. And so we love playing the older songs to people that want to hear them. And of course, the new ones.
But also key to it all is you have to have fun. You can tell those bands that are not necessarily having fun, that have been doing it for decades, and they come out and go through the motions. You've got to still be able to feel it when you're out on stage, and you've got to be able to feel that energy coming from the audience, which was missing for the last 2 years, of course.
Yeah, that was awful. I think we all realised during lockdown how much we miss live music. We miss playing it, but we also miss seeing it. Going to concerts, going to theatre, any kind of live performance. It's a big part of our lives, and it brings a fantastic energy and a perspective that we really very seriously miss. So we're super happy to be back.
Finally, on a perhaps philosophical note, if the 80s were about individualism, what are the 20s about, do you think?
I think things are moving back towards a little bit more self-expression than perhaps they have been for a few decades. The LGBTQ movement, I think, is a very positive force for people and allows people to just be themselves and not be frightened to do that. Musically, I think the landscape is changing again. Fashion is changing again. There's influences from the 70s and the 80s. People rediscover things, reinvent things all the time. I think we're all optimists in this band.
Yeah,
We're
but I
looking
do think
forward
that.
to it.
But I think we're living in times where there are people are sort of formulating right ways and wrong ways to behave, and if you are an individualist, you can fall foul of that. And things have changed, and it really is different from when we came about. I think we're very lucky because of what we came from. We have the license to be individuals still.
I mean, I'm glad we came from the group era. I mean, I'm even looking back on that time now. You know, it started around about 1962 and maybe it ended around about 1985. The group era when the most important music in the world was being made by groups of people, really for the first time in the history of music.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we had to find each other, that none of us had computers that could say, well, I don't need a bass player or a drummer because I can just go click, 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 click. Who knows? The four of us today, if we were 18, we'd all just be in our bedrooms, like making music by ourselves.
Yeah.
We had to
YouTube
find
clips.
a team that could make the music that we all dreamed of making.
Yeah.
Roger, you have the last word.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's going to come back. I was talking about this the other day, actually, that I hate to say, but we're kind of like a dying breed. where are all the bands? Maybe there's going to be a new era of bands. Maybe people are going to get fed up with the producer-led music, and maybe the bands will come back. Maybe it's going to be the next wave.
They will rise from the ashes.
Yes, we hope. We hope.
What a great note to end on. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for contributing to our legacy.
Thank you, Terry.
And
Thank
it's
you.
been a real honor to have
Excellent.
you on
It's
our
a real
stage.
pleasure.
So,
Thank you.